Hello fellow sim racers, the premise for today's video is pretty simple. Take 5 of the most popular sim racing shifters on the market and compare them. Some of them are H-pattern, some of them are sequential, and well, some do both, so there's not going to be a piece of advice at the end of the video saying you should buy this particular shifter. But if you want to see how 5 of the most popular shifters on the market compare, then stick around. So we're going to get into the specifics of quality, features, usability, mounting options and value as we go through the video, but first let's introduce the shifters. To be clear, I own all of these shifters and this video isn't sponsored in any way. First up is the Fanatec Club Sport Shifter SQ-V1.5, long name, decent shifter. It features H-pattern as well as sequential modes, adjustable resistance, a roadcar style reverse gear inhibitor, and when it's paired with a compatible Fanatec wheelbase, it can be used on PlayStation, Xbox and PC. However, if you don't have a Fanatec wheelbase and you want to connect this to your PC as a standalone shifter, then you need to buy this RJ12 to USB dongle, which really should have been included in the box. Seriously, Fanatec, don't be those guys. Next up is the Thrustmaster THAA. Like the Fanatec shifter, it also features H-pattern and sequential modes, and it can be used across the 3 main gaming platforms if you have a compatible TM wheelbase. However, Thrustmaster were also decent enough to include a USB cable in the box as well. So the THAA can be used as a standalone PC without needing to purchase any additional accessories. Rounding out the H-pattern shifters is the Logitech Driving Force shifter. This is the, budget entry in the field, and as such it can't compete on features with the other 2. The shifter's H-pattern only, and can be used on all 3 platforms when connected to a G29 or G920 wheelbase. Logitech don't make an adapter to use this as a standalone device on your PC, but these are available from several third-party manufacturers. And just so I'm not accused of being unfair, I think it's reasonable that Logitech didn't include a USB adapter, given the price that I paid for the shifter is pretty much equal to what I paid for the Fanatec dongle alone. Into the sequential only shifters now, and this is the Thrustmaster TSS Sparko mod. It's a sequential shifter and analog handbrake, and like the THAA, it can be used on all of the major gaming platforms with a compatible wheelbase, and on a PC as a standalone product with the correct cable which is included. Finally, this is the Aiologs sequential shifter. Out of the box, this is a PC-only USB device, but if you're interested in using more bespoke sim racing equipment on your Xbox One or PS4, then there is a third-party product called DriveHub, which allows traditionally PC-only sim racing equipment to function properly on Microsoft and Sony platforms, and you should probably check that out. In the next few sections of the video, we're going to be ranking the shifters in specific categories from worst to best, starting with the quality and usability of the shifters. In last place is the Logitech shifter. This is roughly 1/8 of the price of the most expensive unit in this comparison, so as you would expect, some compromises have been made. The unit's built from injection molded plastic throughout, with a steel shifter arm and faux leather trim. The fit and finish of the parts is actually great, and it's exactly what you would expect from a mass market manufacturer like Logitech. When it comes to driving, the shifting feel is, well, it's the least immersive of all the shifters I tested, and honestly it feels a bit sloppy. As such, misshifts were a bit more likely to occur on the Logitech shifter than on the Thrustmaster or Fanatec H-pattern offerings. In 4th place is the Thrustmaster THAA. Like the Logitech, this is built down to a price. However, the use of more metal in its construction and a more refined mechanism make for a significantly better shifting experience in H-pattern mode. While the THAA doesn't feel quite as engaging and responsive as the Fanatec, the gate does have a very positive feel, though the resistance is quite light. This does mean though that misshifts are very rare. In sequential mode though, this is the worst of the 4 shifters that actually support sequential shifting. Shifts don't have any sort of positive click, and the resistance is very light, and overall I would describe the sequential shifting experience as usable at best. Furthermore, switching between H-pattern and sequential mode is a pretty tedious process, involving undoing the gear knob, removing 4 screws, removing the top plate, rotating the internal mechanism, replacing the top plate, and repeating these steps again in reverse. It's not awful, but it's also not something you're going to want to do over and over again as you bounce between different cars. As for the build quality, all is good. I've personally been using this unit for about 3 years and it's still going strong with no signs of looseness creeping in. In the middle of the pack is the Thrustmaster TSS Sparco mod. This metal monster of a sequential shifter and handbrake is much more rugged than the THAA, and really it is a step up in terms of build and materials from the lower priced unit. The feel of the shifter is more direct than the THAA, it has a responsive click, but the resistance is much lower than I would like still. But it's a big step up from the other Thrustmaster offering, and if you're also looking for a handbrake, well, this is the only unit that does both. The runner-up here is the Fanatec unit. In terms of fit and finish, it's as good as any of the other products I've looked at here, but the material choices place it above the Thrustmaster and Logitech offerings. Furthermore, the shifting feel is also significantly better than the big names as well. The directness of the Fanatec shifter provides the best H-pattern experience here. The throw of the shifter is quite short, which I like as it's pretty much identical to my MX-5. That being said, even with adjustable resistance, you still really can't dial it up to the level of feel you would get in an even moderately sporty road car, let alone a racing car. But that really is a minor criticism, and for most people, I think the feel of the SQV 1.5 will be more than adequate. And the story is the same in sequential mode, which you can access by sliding one switch on the side of the unit, making it a much more practical proposition to change from one mode to the other at a moment's notice. And because of the way the mechanism works, the feel in sequential mode is identical to that of H-pattern, i.e. responsive and direct, if not super immersive. And that leads us to the winner in this category, the Aiologs sequential shifter. And it's a pretty clear winner too. The materials used are fantastic, the build is excellent, and the shifting feel is far and away the best. Starting with the feel, the resistance of the Aiologs shifter is so much higher than all of the other offerings. As you move the shifter, the strong spring resistance increases until you reach the click point, and you feel a very tactile, mechanical sort of jolt as the lever engages the mechanism and activates a shift. While the shifting is of course an electronic signal, this is the only unit in this review that comes even close to having a convincing feeling of a mechanical system. And on top of that, it looks and feels like it's built, well, like a tank. So mounting your shifter isn't all that glamorous, but it does play a massive role in its usability. And that's why both the Thrustmaster shifters and the Fanatec shifter are all in joint last place. None of these shifters come with any hardware to mount them to your rig, though predictably they will sell you some. In Thrustmaster's case, they sell the TM racing clamp, which, while expensive, is actually a pretty cool piece of equipment if you've got both the TSS and the THAA and you want to mount them to your desk. But you're out of luck if you use a sim racing chassis of some kind, especially if you don't have any sort of shifter mount, so you may have to find a third-party adapter or fabricate something yourself. And that's also the story for the Fanatec shifter. No mounting hardware is provided, though they of course do sell a desk clamp. It should be pointed out, however, that all of these shifters do have threaded screw mounts. The runner-up is the Logitech unit, which includes a desk clamp built into the bottom of the unit and M6 mounting points. So desk mounting's easy, but like the other shifters, rig mounting may require additional mounts. In my case, I repurposed a bit of steel plate that I'd previously been using for a Stream Deck. That leaves the Aiologs shifter as the winner again. Not only is it supplied with a sturdy metal desk clamp, but thoughtfully they've included this beefy mounting plate that's pre-drilled with aluminium extrusion sim rigs in mind. This could also be put to use on other metal tube type rigs with a bit of drilling as well. Okay, so this is going to be a bit subjective, but I'll try my best to explain my reasoning. Here are the costs for the 5 shifters based on the lowest price I could find from a reputable source here in the UK. The Logitech shifter comes in at a budget-friendly £33, and if you have a Logitech wheel and don't really want to go for something a bit more fancy, it's a no-brainer. And even if you have to buy the USB conversion cable for, say, another £20 or so, then this is still the cheapest route to getting an H-pattern shifter by far. The next cheapest option is the Aiologs, unbelievably, and honestly, if you're a PC driver that wants a sequential shifter, then this is incredible value for money. In the middle is the THAA. It's feature-packed and ticks a lot of boxes, but it doesn't really excel in any given area. Its middle-of-the-road performance is reflected in a middle-of-the-road price, and honestly, I'm more than happy with the years of use that I've got out of mine. It's a great starter shifter, and if your budget can't stretch to the Fanatec, then I think this is the best option. The TSS is an interesting choice. At nearly £100 more than the Aiolog, it just doesn't measure up from a value perspective if you're only interested in the sequential shift function. But if you want a handbrake as well, and you don't intend on using both functions simultaneously, then, well, this is the only product on the market that does both. Finally, the Fanatec shifter. It costs about 60% more than the Thrustmaster THAA, and performs at least that much better. So if you're looking for an H-pattern and sequential shifter, it represents pretty good value for money. However, if you've already got a THAA, then the step up in performance may not be enough to justify the outlay in my opinion, but of course that's going to be very much down to the individual. So then, here are my recommendations. If your priority is budget, then the THAA covers all of the bases at a very reasonable price. If you want the best sequential shifter and you don't care about H-pattern, then the Aiologs is far and away the best choice. But if you want the best all-rounder and H-pattern matters to you, then the Fanatec shifter is the clear winner. So that just about brings things to a close. I've taken a look at 5 different shifters that I personally own, and I think they adequately represent the 5 most popular shifters on the market right now. There are a couple of other models that I would have loved to have included in this video, including the SHH H-pattern shifter, try saying that 5 times fast, and the Huisingveld sequential model, but I don't have access to either at the moment, so maybe I can update the video in the future. I hope some of you found the video useful or at the very least informative. And if you did like the video, it would be great if you could hit the like button and subscribe to the channel so you can see more content like this in the future. So I guess all that's left to say is goodbye, thank you for watching, and enjoy the rest of your day.